Welcome to the Trip Tales podcast with me, Kelsey Graves. Let's jump into a new episode exploring a vacation destination that you'll want all the details about. Hey everyone, welcome back to Trip Tales. Today you are in for a treat because we are talking about the beautiful Amalfi Coast in Italy with a brand new author who lived there for a month and had some pretty magical experiences. I'm thrilled to be joined by Giovanna Silvestri, author of the book Confused Girl, Find Your Peace in the Chaos, who found a lot of her peace through traveling. So welcome, Giovanna. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited because talking about Italy is my favorite topic.
Amazing. Sounds great. I start every episode with a rapid fire get to know you. So tell everyone where you live and what you do.
So I live in Los Angeles, but I do what I usually do is rent my place out on Airbnb, and then I'll leave for a month or two or six. So I would say that my home base is Los Angeles, but I am kind of all over the world.
Amazing. That is so cool. So I was looking at your Instagram last night to get ready for this podcast, and I was like, she sure travels a lot. Like it took me a minute to find the Amalfi Coast stuff because there was so much Italy, France, I mean, all over the world, all over the United States. So that is so cool. So do you have a schedule, or if someone books it, are you like, now I'm out and I got to go somewhere?
That's how I do it. If somebody books it, so I have a two-bedroom, two-bathroom condo, and I lock my bedroom with my personals in it, and I have a camera in there and everything, and my own bathroom, and then I just rent it out as a one bedroom, one bath.
That's so cool. I love this.
Yeah, so then when somebody rents it out, I leave. And I have to say, like, I always love coming back home. Because you miss home. Like, I miss my couch. I have my amazing TV and, I have a nice bathtub with a jacuzzi in it. And so I love coming home. But when I'm home, I really don't do much. I pretty much stay, in my condo and in my little beach town in LA. And then when it rents out, I just take off. I have to rent my place for a minimum of 30 nights. So I'm always gone for at least a month.
Oh my gosh. So not 30 nights consecutively, but 30 nights throughout the year to be like an official Airbnb?
30 nights consecutively.
Why? Oh, because of like your homeowner stuff?
Yeah, homeowner stuff and the zoning. So they don't allow short-term stays. LA kind of cracked down on that, I think, to protect the hotels,
Got
which is
it.
fine for me because I really don't want to have to go back and clean and then, it's too much. So it's actually really nice when somebody rents it for a month and then I can actually go, okay, I'm going to go to the Amalfi Coast for a month, which I did. So
Yeah,
that's how I do that.
that's so cool. Were you okay with the fires?
Thank God I was.
Okay. I feel like anyone in LA, I'm like, were you close? It just seemed to get so widespread.
Yeah, it was very scary, because in the beginning I actually went to go get my nails done. I walked to the beauty salon close to my house to get my nails done, and then I saw the fires and the Palisades on the TV, and I'm like, "Oh, that's crazy." But it had just started, so didn't really know anything about it. Then I go to the liquor store just to buy like a chocolate, and the guy at the liquor store knows me, and he's like, be careful about the fires. I'm like, I need to do some research on this. So then I started researching and I was like, oh my gosh. I call my mom who lives in Orange County and I said, Mom, I might have to come and stay with you. Have you heard about the fires? And she was actually going to drive north. And she's like, no. I said, you cannot drive north today. I said, you gotta like stay home. So yeah, she canceled driving up north. And she told me to pack a bag just in case I had to split. It was crazy.
Yeah, that is super crazy. I mean, I feel like all the natural disaster, Mother Nature type stuff, I'm like, I feel like that's one of the last things that's completely out of our control. And it's so terrifying. We get tornadoes, and I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, and we get really bad tornadoes. And it's just kind of like every once in a while, and they kind of come out of nowhere. It's like all of a sudden tornadoes are happening, and it's just really scary. You just never really know when one's going to pop up in fires, especially with those winds. It was like, why can't we control these? Well, these winds are blowing so fast and it's just like literally spreading like wildfire. It was so scary.
Yeah, yeah, it was really crazy. And it's really crazy to think too that that was just 9 miles from me, from where I was, but yet I'm fine and
Yeah.
everybody know where I am, but like just 9 miles away, it's like a apocalypse, post.
Mm-hmm. Well, Giovanna, you emailed me and shared that you recently had a transformative journey through traveling, spending time in many different places, including the Amalfi Coast. And that journey is what brought you from chaos to finding clarity. So, before we dive into traveling to the Amalfi Coast and all the amazing things about Italy, let's back up. And can you share a little bit about your confused girl journey?
Yeah. Confused Girl Journey started a little over a decade ago, to be fair. And I went through a pretty dark depression where I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Life wasn't going the way that I had intended it to go or thought it would go. So I was like, I need to fix something. I need to go inside of myself and figure out who I am and what I want to do in this world and start to enjoy it a little bit instead of everything having to be a means to an end. And so I went through this crazy transformation and I started a video blog called Confused Girl in the City. And I called it Confused Girl because I was like, well, I'm confused, and that's the most authentic thing about myself. And I wanted to take the shame out of feeling confused because I had felt so shameful that I had been depressed and I didn't have the answers. And I'm like, it's silly that we feel shameful because no one is born with a manual on how to do life. And honestly, if you were, how boring,
Yeah,
right? Like the whole reason why we're here is to discover and figure it out. So
exactly.
it's like one big experiment. So I thought, confusion is just a natural part of living. So on my
Was
video
this like
blog,
a YouTube channel
it was
at
a
the
YouTube,
time? Okay.
and I started doing one new thing every week in an attempt to figure out who I was and what I wanted to do, why I was here. And then that led to me, that led to this spiritual awakening and this spiritual journey. And I started a yoga wear line before everybody was making yoga clothes. I'm like an OG.
Yeah, you were the OG.
My leggings are all inspired by different healing crystals, and
Oh, cool.
still no one's done that, which is I'm happy about. I'm
Do you
still
still
doing.
have the line?
I still have the line. I still sell it. Like this is part of my line. Choose love, crop top,
Okay, cute. Love it.
make you wear. And then after I got that off and going well, it was doing well for about 5 years. And during that time, I had this inspiration to write this book. And I'm like, I have to write a book about everything I've discovered and like what I've been able to overcome and let other people know that they're not alone. And you literally could be living the life of your dreams and the life you desire. And so I was like, I have to write this book. So, but I didn't want to do it in Los Angeles. I wanted to do it while I was living abroad. And so I went to Indonesia for a year. I lived there and wrote most of the book. And then I went to Berlin for a year and finished it. And then after 2 years of rejection, it's two publishing companies had a bidding war on it, and now it's being published.
Congratulations. That I went down the publishing rabbit hole for a minute and I gave up. And maybe I'll go back to it at some point, but bravo to you because it is not an easy task. I feel like you're like me where things kind of just come to you where some people are like, "How did you start this podcast?" I'm like, "I actually don't know. I just kind of I think had this idea at one point and then I just kept taking baby steps and now here we are and it's like a year later and things just kind of like I feel like it came to me. And
Yeah.
in the same sense, I had this idea for a book. It's not like a cool transformative travel book. It was okay. So I'm a mom of three, and I just was in this phase of life where I was like, women do it all. We literally do it all. And it was Christmas time. And I was thinking about how it's so funny that at Christmas time, Santa does it all, but he's a man. And actually, Santa probably doesn't do any of it. Mrs. Claus does it all. This is like
Yeah.
a super random tangent, but I had this idea for a book called Mrs. Claus Does It All or something along those lines, like Mrs. Claus. There's already a book called Deserves the Applause. But, I went down this rabbit hole. I wrote the manuscript. It was going to be a cute children's book, kind of like a wink, wink to Santa gets all the credit, but behind the scenes, Mrs. Claus is like literally doing all the things. She's taking care of all the sick elves. She's wrapping all the presents. She's making sure Santa's on time. Like she's doing it all. I thought it was really cute, whatever. And
Yeah.
so I pitched it. I like watched all these YouTube videos. I'm like, okay, you can like self-publish or get through a publishing. I mean, I spent, I would say probably months trying to figure this out. I got so many no's, so many, like, if you could change, Santa to be like a different race. And I was kind of like, what? Like, it was just like too vanilla, I think. And it was just like a no across the board. And I finally was like, screw it. I'm not even going to try to publish a book. But it is a really tough industry to get anybody to listen to you. Hey, Trip Tales listeners, I'll keep this short. If you're loving the podcast, leaving a review or buying me a coffee is the quickest way to show your support, and it will ensure that these amazing trip stories keep coming. Leave a review wherever you are listening to this podcast, or buy me a coffee at the link in the show notes, and I'll literally do a happy dance when it comes through. Okay, back to the show.
It really is. It really, really is. And so what I did first was I got an agent. I got an agent during COVID, and she had it for two and a half years. And for
Had
two
that
and a
you
half,
were done with the book? You had she had the book?
yeah, she had the book. I had to do a book proposal, which is like a mini book.
Yeah.
It's like you already wrote all of this, and then you have to write a book proposal about the book, and which is like 40 pages.
Yeah.
So I did all that, and then she would send it out. And for 2.5 years, I was rejected.
That's a
And
long time to keep going for something.
yeah, but you know why I was able to keep going for it? Because I let it go.
Mm.
Wasn't going for it. I
Yeah.
mean, I believed in it still. It was still there, but it was like I surrendered to it. I let it go. And that was a huge lesson for me to learn about timing of your life and about just how when you do the work, after you've done the work and you have the dream and you have the goal, you just have to let it go and
Yeah.
just and let it breathe and let it do what it's going to do. It's kind of like almost, even a relationship. Like if you love somebody so much and you're all over them and you're just like, you just squeeze the life and the love out of them. And then all of a
Hmm.
sudden they break up. He's like, I can't take it anymore. Or she's like, I can't take it anymore.
Hmm.
It's the same thing with your projects. If you obsess about it, if you're desperate about it, if you're attaching your worth to the outcome of this thing, you're going to suck the life out of it and you're not going to let it blossom into what it could be. And I was not going to do that. And when I got out of my depression, I said, you know what? My self-worth isn't attached to anything outside of myself. My self-worth is just, I feel like I'm worth something because I exist in this world.
And if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And so you kind of put it out there. You did the work, you were proud of the work. And then there's nothing else you can do to make that happen. It's out there in the world for people. And then if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And then it was, which is awesome. And then you weren't completely stressed about it for 2.5 years.
Yeah, exactly. I was able to let it go and concentrate on other things. My father got sick. I was able to really be there with him. I was able to, when my dad actually recovered, I went to Texas for 8 months because California was still closed down. And I'm like, I was like, this girl needs to have some fun. So I, so I like went to Texas and I had a great time for 8 months. And then I came back to California and my dad got sick again. But through this whole time I was living my life. I was concentrating on other things. And then 2 months before my father passed away, that's when the two publishing companies had a bidding war on my book.
Wow.
So it just happened. It was like right after New Year's, I got an email from my agent, and she's like, a publishing company is interested in your book. And then once one is interested, then you're probably going to have more interested. And so I got a bigger advance than I ever thought was possible for me. It's really, I'm really grateful for it. It's really divine timing, divine timing.
Yes, one thing that I like that you said is in your journey when you had the YouTube channel and as you were trying to figure out, your life and your purpose is you try to do one new thing a week. That's something that I've really learned through travel. And I've heard people say that if you can go somewhere new by yourself, with your significant other, with your kids, it actually opens up a different part of your brain that makes you feel like a child again. So you could go to the same place every year. A lot of people here in Tennessee go to this area in Florida called 30A. They go every single year, 2 times a year. It's the only place they ever go. That's fine. They like it there. It's their happy place. But when you go somewhere you've never seen, and it's like you have to figure out new things. You've never seen this type of like architecture before. You've never seen this topography before. There are different people around you. It literally opens up this part of your brain that makes you feel like a child again. And it brings relationships closer. It makes you a better person. So I think that was whether you realized you were doing it or not, when you tried those new things every week, that really is like kind of healing and bringing you back to your like childlike form to be like, oh my gosh, this is so interesting. I'm learning something new. I don't have to obsess about everything in my life and just the things that are happening here right now. I can explore new things, experience new things. And in the process, it can be very like therapeutic.
Oh, everything that you just said, like hallelujah, amen. Yes. I know it's so true. It's so true. And I love what you said too about when you go to a new place, it opens up a different side of your brain. And that's also why I like going. This one guy, I was in Tulum, and then this one guy who lived there was like, "Oh, when are you going to come back?" I was like, "I don't know." I was like, "Maybe never." And he goes, "Why?" And I said, "Because there's so many other places to see." I don't always want to go back to the same place, even though it was beautiful, because it's like, oh my God, but then I could go to Bora Bora, I could go to the Maldives,
I
I could go
know.
other places. The only place I always go back to is Italy because, my father's from there and I have family there and I love it so much. But other than that, I really like to discover new places. And I like going to new places and writing because of exactly what you said. Because you're 100% in the present moment, because your brain has to work. Another part of your brain opens up. You're having to figure things out. You're taking in all the energy, you're feeling everything, and it just opens up your creative mind. And I do talk about doing the new things and how powerful it is. Honestly, if someone could just do that, even commit to once a month doing something new, like, and you
Even
could,
locally, if you can't travel, even locally, something new.
oh, I wasn't traveling at that point. What I would do is I'd go on Groupon and find deals for different things. So I even did the trapeze. I did a trapeze lesson in Santa
Amazing.
Monica, where I was like swinging and then the guy grabbed my foot at the end and I was like, "Oh my God, I did that move." Where you have to let go when he says let go and
That sounds terrifying, but also
oh,
very exhilarating and exciting.
exactly. And you're so proud of yourself that you did it. So even just doing something like that once a month is doing all the things too that, let's say, going to a new place would give you. What it does also is it gives you confidence in your abilities and in yourself. Because by putting yourself outside of your comfort zone, even if it's like just dipping a toe outside of your comfort zone, you are going, I trust myself. I know I can do this. So you start to build up your inner self-esteem.
Yeah, for sure. I promise you guys we're going to get into Italy very soon, but I watched a lot of your stories last night. Giovanna has an awesome Instagram account called Confused Girl LA if you want to go check her out. And she shares a lot of her travels and her stories on there. And I watched way too many stories last night. I was like, I feel like I know you. But in it, you do talk about your dad a lot. And I kind of got the sense that he probably was from Italy. So if you feel comfortable, I know it's probably a sensitive subject, but do you mind sharing a little bit about him and the connection to Italy before we jump into Italy?
Yeah, yeah, sure. So, my father did. He passed away 2 years ago,
I'm
and I
so
have
sorry. My
thank you.
heart just breaks for you. I'm so close to my dad, and I can imagine and can't imagine the pain all at the same time.
It's a very weird thing losing a significant person in your life. It's a very strange. very strange thing. But I dedicated my book to him. And yes, he was from Italy. He was from a town very close to the Amalfi Coast, about a 50-minute drive from the Amalfi Coast. So I grew up kind of going there, not every summer, but many summers we went
Wow.
there. And that was before it was crazy popular. It was
Mm-hmm.
popular for Italians and like, some Brits and Germans, but it wasn't like every single married, person that just got married is going there in the summer.
Right.
So now I actually avoid going there in the summer, but yeah, so my father's from that area, so I have this like home feeling when I go there. It just when I hear the people speak, because even in Italy, different parts they have different accents, they pronounce things differently, they sound differently. But when I go there, it's like I'm around how my father talked. I'm around how my father thought about things and did things. And so after he passed away, I spent a lot of time there. And it was very interesting because 2 months before my father passed, I signed a contract with the publishing company. So then after he passed, I had to do like this big rewrite of the book with the publishing team because now we got professionals, that are
Mm-hmm.
coming going, we need to rework this, we need to, loop this, blah, blah, blah. So it was like a year of work. So I was like, okay, well, I want to be somewhere beautiful where the creativity is going, where I can be close to my dad, because we actually buried my father in his hometown in Italy.
Wow.
Yeah, because he wanted to go back home. That was like his wish. So we got him back home. And I was like, okay, I want to be close to my dad. So I rented an Airbnb. It was from mid-October to mid-November, which is a really amazing time to be on the Amalfi Coast because the crowds are gone. Things are still open. They will start to close like into November, but definitely in October, things are still open. You still have a bit of tourism, but nothing overwhelming, no lines, no craziness. The weather is still nice, so you could still go swimming, you can still like enjoy the sun, but bring a jacket or a sweater just in case, but weather is still nice. And oh my gosh, my place that I rented on Airbnb, I rented it for 1 month for $1,300. And
Total?
yeah,
I wanted to ask you about that. Did you just get on Airbnb.com and just kind of search around and find it?
yeah, because this is the thing. You could never find that in the summertime or in like peak during peak season. But mid-October to mid-November is when everybody leaves and people they're not traveling there and nothing's getting rented out for a month. So these apartments there that would be totally rented and cost you $3,000 for a month in the summer or maybe more go down to like 1,300.
That's incredible. Was the host family the people that like rented the Airbnb? Were they living there while you were there or no? I couldn't
Oh,
tell.
they became my family though. Her name's Anna. I asked Anna. She's the host of the Airbnb. Her son actually owns it, and she runs it for her son. Her son lives in Pisa in the north of Italy.
Okay.
I said, could you pick me up in Amalfi at the port? Because that's where I was coming in. And she's like, sure. But she even said, in the summertime, I could not pick you up. Like it's too busy and I'm too busy, but because it's not, I can. So she comes and picks me up, and I'm staying in Ravello, which is already on a hill. But then my apartment is a one-bedroom apartment, was like on the hill of Ravello. It was like on like the almost the very top of the hill. But I had the craziest panoramic views of the Amalfi Coast. I mean, it's insane. I mean, I woke up every day, had coffee on my balcony with my laptop, just like looking out at the Mediterranean over the Amalfi Coast.
I mean, talk about getting those creative juices flowing and feeling close to your dad. And I mean, what a dream. I have never been to the Amalfi Coast, but it looks like an absolute dream in photos. I'm sure everybody listening already knows, but the Amalfi Coast is a stunning stretch of coastline in southern Italy. It's known for its dramatic cliffs and pastel colored villages, crystal clear water. It's a bucket list destination for a lot of people. How do people get there? What is the best airport to fly into? And then it sounded like you were on some sort of a boat or ferry situation.
Yeah, so the best airport to fly into would be Naples. So you would fly into Naples and then you could do one of two things. You could take a boat from Naples to, Amalfi, Capri. Capri is an island if you were going to Capri, to Sorrento, um, also Positano, or you would take the bus.
Okay.
Or
That sounds complicated. I
Okay.
don't know why.
Or rent a car. I do not recommend
I
anyone
did like a little bit of research last night, and what I read was like, try not to drive if you are not from there. If it is like
stop.
high season, they're like, it's basically impossible.
Do not drive there.
Yeah,
I do not like my dad drove there, but I have not driven there. Now I've driven everywhere else in Italy except Naples, and I've driven like out of the airport of Naples going to my dad's town, but I have not driven in the city of Naples or the Amalfi Coast. It is so scary. And if you don't real if you're not from there and you don't know, you should not drive there. You should either take a bus or take a boat.
and did you
And
take a boat this time when you were there?
I've done both because I've been there many times, but
Yeah,
taken a boat. The boat's so beautiful because you get to see the whole coastline.
that sounds
So
amazing.
it's so great. I mean, you could even you could take the boat and then you could also take the bus to another, part because the buses are really cool too, right? Because you get the big windows and then you're like driving on the cliff.
Yeah, it's almost like a mini excursion, and you're actually just using transportation to get from point A to point B.
Exactly. And it really is like incredibly gorgeous. And then, the way the buses drive there, it's so crazy. Literally, the cars come this close and like
Mm.
pass each other without hitting, like that close. I actually had a friend who was going to go there. I filmed it with my iPhone because he was like, oh, I'm going to drive, I'm going to drive. And I was like, well, I'm going to take a video. So I took a video and I sent it to him. And he's like, oh, okay, actually, maybe not. I don't know if I'm going to drive. I was like, don't drive. I'm like, just listen, you want to enjoy it. Okay. You want to enjoy it. So just take the bus or
Yeah.
better yet, take a boat and
Hmm.
enjoy boat. You don't need to drive. Not necessary.
No. Okay. I know you've been there multiple times and it feels like home to you, but a lot of us haven't been there and dream about going there. So give us like the vibes of just kind of like day to day, what it's like. Maybe when you were there, not high season, high tourist season. Obviously, I'm sure that's pretty chaotic, beautiful still, but a little bit more challenging to get around and maybe eat at some restaurants. But what are the vibes like when you were there?
Oh my gosh. Well, I loved the time that I was there because it's mostly locals. So you really get to see like what it's like.
Like
You know,
real life in
I
this small Italian village.
Village. Okay, so like my life there, for instance, I would wake up, I'd make my cappuccino and like have my little, I love these fiestas, these little chocolate things, and I would like have my view and I'd write and do some work, and that's how I'd wake up. Then my Airbnb host, which I was so lucky, her and I became like sisters, she would call me and she'd be like, Giovanna, I'm cooking lunch, come down.
Oh
And I'd be
my
like,
gosh.
every day, every day, every day. So I'd be like, okay. So I would just like walk down from my, place. I'd walk down to her house and I'd have lunch and hang out and with her
So she's
family.
living in a separate house, but they manage this Airbnb. But she's like close enough that you can just walk down to her house.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Her house is like a 10-minute walk
And she's
down
just treating you to lunch, like just come on by.
every day.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Italians are so like, well, they're so abundant. They're so hospitable. And I think also because I am from that area too, it's like they feel like I'm family as well,
Mm-hmm.
heritage there. So we just became very, very close. Before I really got to know her though, and I was getting invited over all the time. So to go grocery shopping, I take my backpack and I mean, I had to walk down. Oh my God, I think it was like 1,000 steps or something. I mean, it
It
was
looked
crazy.
like a lot in your stories. It looked gorgeous. Like you've got the view of the sea and you've got all these kind of like old school, cobblestoney looking steps, but you have to literally walk down all those steps and back up them with groceries.
Walking down was okay, right? But
Yeah.
then go to the store, I'd get my groceries, put it in my backpack, and then it's like, oh my God, I have to walk back up this. But I'm like, I pretty much can eat anything I want because I will have burned it off.
Right.
But yeah, like walking back up was so crazy. It was so crazy, but I did it. It was great exercise.
Yeah. And it's like a beautiful walk, but I'm sure your legs were like burning by the end of it.
Anna, she would also call me because her family has a farm just even above where I was staying. So I was almost at the top of this like mountain, but at the very top was their farm. So she would come over and her mother and father lived next to me in the apartment next to me. So when I would go on my balcony and like hang my clothes and stuff to dry, I would see her parents on the balcony and talk to them.
Oh my gosh, you really were like a local for a month.
Yeah, yeah, I was like a local, totally. And so then I would walk with Anna, we would walk up to her farm and they have chickens that lay eggs.
Oh my
So the
gosh.
eggs that we ate were from those chickens.
That's amazing.
And I just would wake up every day just feeling so loved. And I so needed that at that moment in my life. I really felt like my father was there and blessing me, and I was just getting all the Italian love, that like I lost with him.
I
And
definitely felt that from your stories. I felt like you had like an abundance of happiness and gratitude, and you felt very close to him, like it was a super healing place for you at that time in your life. And not to mention that you were also completing this book that was such a dream of yours. Okay, for all of us that might go over there for just like, 4 or 5 nights and not have the luxury of going for a month, tell us about the famous Instagram spot in Ravello that I saw you posting about.
so there's two. There's Villa Cimproni and Villa, I think it's Rufolo or Rufala. One
Okay.
of one of those. Sorry, off the top of my head. But those are two that you have to go see. They're just incredibly gorgeous. Because the Romans used to vacation
I
in,
didn't, but I believe you.
yeah, like the Romans, they used to, go on vacation on the Amalfi Coast. And that's what makes it so amazing is like there's remnants from the Roman Empire. There's remnants from, all of the different eras. And it's just amazing how they built these things so securely on a cliff like this.
Yeah, for sure. So
Oh,
long ago, too.
yeah. And then they have like lemon groves and olives for wine. And I mean, just drink and eat everything local because it's incredible. But so definitely go to Village Cimbrone. You could just buy your ticket, on their website and then just go and you just walk through it. And it's incredible. The views are insane.
Is it like a church, a castle, a cathedral? What is it?
Well, it is actually a hotel and event place, so you actually can have weddings and stuff there, and you
Okay.
can here and have a drink there. It's like yeah, a hotel villa, but I think it was a palace. It's one of the most prestigious hotels on the entire Mediterranean. I mean, it is.
Fancy.
And they have like a crazy garden and it's overlooking the entire Amalfi Coast and but I believe it was a palace. Let's ask
Amazing.
ChatGPT.
Go for it. I use ChatGPT like all day, every day. I don't know how I lived before it.
ChatGPT was Villa Cimbrone a palace? Dates back to the 11th century.
Wow.
Yeah, it was for a lord. Yeah, I mean, let's just say it's a palace. I mean,
Yeah.
the gardens are just insanely gorgeous. It's amazing.
Awesome. Sounds like a place you have to check out if you're there. Let's talk about the food. I know you got homemade local food. I'm sure the restaurants, is it one of those places where you need to like make reservations ahead and look up all these hot spots, or if you pop into like any cafe or restaurant, are you just going to get this like amazing Italian food and it's just like wherever you find yourself, plop down and enjoy a meal?
I have to say, and this is really unfortunate, but because the Amalfi Coast has become so touristic, it's just the quality is not as good as it used to be.
That's good to
You
know.
know?
Like it's just
Yeah.
become so touristy that they're just trying to pump out, feed people basically.
Yeah. So what I would do if I was traveling there is I would ask a local and be like, listen, we really want something where the locals go that's like really good, like well priced. Because Italians aren't going to go eat at a place that's just like super expensive and stealing tourist food. They don't go to those places. Those
Of
are just,
course, yeah.
you know. So like if you really want a good meal there, then you got to ask them and you got to say, I want like home, where's a good place to get homemade pasta and really fresh fish. There was this restaurant that I would walk to from Ravello. It was in Atrani. And Atrani is between Ravello and Amalfi. And one thing to do on the Amalfi Coast is you can hike the Amalfi Coast, which
That
is
sounds
really,
awesome.
yeah, you can hike from Ravello down to Minori, or you can go the other way and go to Ravello through Atrani into Amalfi.
It kind of
So
reminds me of I went to Cinque Terre and hiked like all those little towns from what there's like five of them in a row or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. You could do that on the Amalfi Coast.
Can you do it in like a day? Like it's a 1 day little hike?
You could probably only do one of those in a
Okay.
day. I mean, it's intense. I mean, it's a lot of steps and a
Have you
lot of,
done it?
yeah, but I did like one day I went from Ravello to Minori. Another day I went from Ravello to Amalfi, but not Minori to Ravello. No way, no
Okay.
way.
Okay.
Even like to Minori because it's all the way just down. I took the bus back up.
Yeah.
I was like,
Smart.
no, I cannot walk that. That's too crazy. In Atrani, right on the water, you kind of can't miss it, is an amazing seafood restaurant. Like, oh my God, so delicious. Le Arcate was like,
Lay
oh my God, this place is so good.
Arcate. We'll put it in the show notes.
You are gonna get like the best seafood dish there. I mean, it is just,
And the views look so incredible.
yeah. And Atrani is really cool because it's a great stop between Ravello and Amalfi, and it's a little less touristy. It's a little more authentic.
So I'm seeing all these views of the sea and it looks amazing from like where you were. Can you just like walk down and go into the sea, or are you needing to find spots and beaches and that kind of thing? Like where are you going swimming?
Yeah, so from where I was in Ravello, I could have gone to Minori and Maiori, which have beaches.
Are they just
And
like public beaches? Just plop down?
yeah, just public beaches. And then Atrani has a beach too, which was close to me. Um, Amalfi, I believe, has a beach, and Positano has a beach, but they're all very small. It's not like, to be
The
honest,
sprawling US beaches that are like massive.
yeah, it's not like that. But I would say for beaches, just like pure beaches, Puglia, which is more south of Italy, is the best because their beaches are sprawling beaches and the water is warm there and it's clear. The water is amazing and warm and clear. That's in Puglia. And see the Amalfi Coast, it's not a huge coastline, right? So it's like a pretty small coastline, and they're just little villages.
Mm-hmm.
So it gets really crammed. It's incredible. It's like the views are some of the most beautiful views in the world, and
Mm-hmm.
such an interesting place because of the way everything was built on the cliff, and it's so ancient. So it's just incredible. But if you want, and you can go swimming there and, all the things, fine. But if you want like beach life, that would be in Puglia. That would be like in the south. And Puglia is nice because it's more spread out. and it's easy to drive in and out of like the beach towns and
And I feel like this area for a lot of like typical tourists that are going to go over there for like a week or whatever are going to do like a boat ride where they get to go out and see the coastline from the water and go swimming like that. I feel like I see people posting those types of like amazing boat rides. So I'm sure that's something that people can do as well if they want to get out on the water and get those amazing views. Okay, I know you had your Anna, but tell us about the people in general in the village and in this area. What are the people like? Are they going to be welcoming to us tourists, or are they going to be like, okay, get on out of here?
no, no, I mean, I think that no, the people are so nice and friendly in the south of Italy. They really are. I think occasionally you will get somebody that's a little annoyed with the tourism, but they also really appreciate it because that's now where they make most of their income.
Yeah,
And so they work for 6 months and then for 6 months they're pretty much off. So so but I have to say it is stressful on them because it's so many people and they're nonstop for 6 months, and in the summertime it is really hot.
yeah. It probably almost feels like over tourism, like too much tourism at this point, kind of like how Thailand's gotten, where it's like, okay, we're closed.
It does. Yeah, yeah. I think it does feel like that.
Yeah,
That's what I would really recommend to people is try to go a little, just try to avoid July and August.
yeah,
Even June is a good time to go. There, it's going to be less crazy. I really, if you can only go July and August, fine. And I mean, it is fun because everybody's out and about and partying, and August is like the big month in Italy where the Italians go on vacation, and except people that live on the Amalfi because they're not going on vacation because they're working.
yeah.
But uh it is fun, but it is just overwhelming and hot and everything's crowded and
It did
yeah.
seem like you, speaking of like partying and stuff, you did find like quite a bit of nightlife. Is there a good amount of nightlife here if you're heading there as a tourist?
Yeah, I would say definitely in the summer. Definitely in the summer months, all the nightclubs are open, everything. Oh yeah. And it's really Italians are all about like summer late night life. Like they eat late, like they eat at like 9, 10. I mean, I even had a dinner like at midnight.
Wow.
Yeah, they eat really late. Which is really it's nice because it's like so hot in the day.
Hmm. What about the language barrier? You probably either speak Italian or can understand Italian, but what about for the average person? Is it kind of tough because they are so local to communicate?
Honestly, most everybody speaks a little bit of English now.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
know, and if they don't, you can do translate on your phone and all of that. Or even if you know some Spanish too, you could get I know quite a bit of Italian, so I can communicate.
Yeah.
But I don't think anybody would have a problem.
What about like the currency? Are you mostly using your credit cards from back home? Is that easy peasy? Do people only take cash? Like, kind of how does that all work?
Everybody takes credit card now. But I mean, I think it's always good to have some euros on you.
Yeah. If I was going to take a trip to the Amalfi Coast tomorrow, which I would like to, where would you recommend I stay? A hotel or a vacation rental and like start the process on VRBO or Airbnb?
Well, I would say, I think if it's a short-term stay, I think hotels are just convenient because you have a concierge there, you can ask where to go. It's just easy to get in and out. If you're staying longer, then I would do like an Airbnb or a VRBO.
Are there any hotels that you like know of that you're like, oh my gosh, you'd want to stay here?
Yes, yes. Okay, so I stayed, oh my God, at this amazing hotel in Praiano. So Praiano is between Amalfi and Positano. So it's actually a great spot to go to. And Praiano is beautiful, beautiful sunset views. I saw the most beautiful sunset view there at this one cafe. The hotel is called Santa Margherita. Their restaurant there is okay, one, the food, it was some of the best food I had on the Amalfi Coast at this hotel. And their restaurant is so amazing, even if you just go there for lunch. It's all glass and
Amazing.
panoramic views of the coast.
Amazing. Good to know. Santa
Yeah.
Margarita Hotel.
Santa Margarita Hotel in Praiano, which is between Positano and Amalfi. And if you can stay there too, oh my gosh, the most amazing views from some of the suites. Gorgeous.
Sounds incredible.
You definitely should go to Positano and just walk around, go to the church in Amalfi. You could take a boat as well and go to Capri. And if it's your first time on the Amalfi Coast, I highly recommend going to Capri, staying a night or two in Capri. I mean, it's so gorgeous. And I would recommend going June. I would recommend going in September and October and May too. So May, June, and then September and October, I think are really great months to go.
Awesome. So while you were there completing your book, which is now complete, when does it come out?
So it's coming out May 13th. So 2 more months, which is so crazy.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I'm actually, you people can pre-order it now, and I'm doing a big giveaway.
Oh,
So
cool.
if you pre-order the book and you email me, and you can email me from my website, like a screenshot of your purchase, then you will enter to win a 2 night stay in an ocean view room in Maui,
Oh, amazing.
and also $100 gift card to my store.
Okay. And what's your clothing line store called?
Confused Girl in the City.
Oh, it's all just Confused Girl. I love it. We're just Confused Girl. And then your next book's
Oh,
going to be
Confused
like
Girl, and then you'll find me.
Non-Confused Girl. I love it. Okay, Giovanna, it's been so lovely talking to you. And I'm sad that our time revisiting the Amalfi Coast has to come to an end. But let's finish with the question I ask everybody at the end of every podcast. If someone out there is planning a trip to Italy, what is it about the Amalfi Coast that would make you say, just book it?
The views. I mean, you're just gonna see the most incredible view, like coastline views, probably that you've ever seen. The only thing that's comparable would be Santorini, but I still think the Amalfi Coast is like more incredible. And just the way of life there, it's very old school still. It's and the way the structures were built, like I said, on the cliff, there's no place like it in the world. It's magical. It's really magical.
Well, it was so lovely hearing about it from you, who have so many ties to the area and who lived there for over a month and who's visited there so many times. So, thank you so much for sharing your journey and all of your knowledge with us. Tell people where they can find you online.
So you can find me on Instagram at Confused Girl LA, or my website, confusedgirlinthecity.com. And my book's on Amazon too. So you can just go into Amazon and type in Confused Girl, and it should pop up there too.
Amazing. This has been so fun. I feel like I know you now, getting to know you, chatting about your life story. So, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much.
That wraps up another episode of Trip Tales. If you have a trip you'd like to share about on the podcast, email me at triptalespodcast@gmail.com and I'll add you to the schedule. Also, be sure to follow the show so that you don't miss any upcoming vacation destinations. And if you have an extra minute in your day, please leave a review for the podcast. It helps more than you could imagine. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next episode of Trip Tales.